Hello, everyone. Happy Halloween here in New York. It's around noon on Halloween afternoon, and I'm sure the doorbell's going to be ringing, and I'm sure my two Yorkies are going to go nuts. So if you hear some barking in the background, don't worry. It's just two of my beautiful Yorkies barking like crazy. They're doing their job. They're letting you know that there's people around the house. It's okay. If they get too loud, so be it. Now, yesterday we were discussing 35 millimeter rangefinders because I wanted that to open the door to 120 medium format rangefinder cameras. And yesterday, on volume 11, we had the Zorky 4. The Zorky 4 was giving me a little trouble putting the film cover, the back of the camera, back on. All right. So I didn't want to leave it like that it was giving me a hard time. And I don't actually think I showed you guys it back on once I showed you the interior of the camera. All right. You unlock the two locks. 1, 2. Back of the camera slides off. Right. And the take-up spool falls out. It's designed that way. It's designed that way so the take-up spool, you can actually put the leader from your 35 millimeter film, you can load it onto the spool and then slide both the take-up spool and your film cassette into the back of the camera, instead of the way everybody else does it, where you take the spool, put the leader over, and put it on. You take your cassette of film, take the leader, and put it onto your take-up spool. It's just a little bit of that quirk. Now, the back of the camera, this is the back cover. The pressure plate extends so far out from behind there. See that? That's a 1/2 inch clearance between the back steel plate and the pressure plate. That sticks up a lot. So yesterday in volume 11, when I was sliding the back of the cover back on, it kept doing this, and I was, at this angle with a microphone in front of you. And if you don't use the camera often, you forget these little nuances of how things are designed. So you have to put the plate on, knowing you have to jump over the film guide so the pressure plate doesn't get keep hitting it. Anyway, it's on now. It's on nice and tight. You just lock up the two locks on the back of the Zorky from Moscow. Okay? Now, one other thing I want to point out is yesterday I mentioned that that there's a seller on eBay selling one like this for $100. And there was another seller selling what I feel is a better camera, because it doesn't have these little nuances that you have to worry about, for $52. And you might wonder, well, why is the Konica, right, $52 rangefinder, 35 millimeter, and why is the Zorky $100? One thing I didn't mention, one plus that the Zorky has, is that it has interchangeable lenses. These lenses come off, okay? And you can change these lenses, okay? They're interchangeable. The Konica, fixed lens, okay? So I just wanted to mention that on the Zorky 4, interchangeable lenses. The Konica Auto S2, which sometimes is labeled on eBay as a 52 because the font that they used, the 2 looks like a 5. Sorry. When it says the Konica is the S2, the font that they use makes it look like 52, and sometimes that's how they're on eBay, and you get them for a great price because the seller feels nobody's even viewing it because it's listed wrong. Little secret. Okay. So that leads us to range. We're still in the rangefinder family. That leads us to medium format film rangefinder cameras. And here we go. This is the Rapid Omega 100 rangefinder film 120 size camera. Okay. During World War II, the United States Navy asked an American company, Omega, to come up with a camera that would be rugged, very rugged. This is all steel construction. Could keep up with the problems that you have in war, right? Dirt and vibration and just etc. And more than one person will be using the camera, right? So as it gets handed around, it can really, not be fragile, be very sturdy. Okay. So they came up with this. They came up with the Rapid Omega, right? They went to Konica, right, for the lenses, right? So some models will say Koni, Koni, Rapid Omega, right? Or Koni-Omega, right? Doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. Okay? Made for the military. Okay? They sold thousands of these to the military during World War II. Then after the war, Omega tried to sell them to wedding photographers and portrait photographers and the media, and they sold a few, but not as many as they were hoping for. Okay? So what they did was they were almost on the verge of not making them anymore when 120 color slide film, right, positive film, was discovered that if you use that in here, the slides, the 2¼ inch by 2 3/4 inch slides, were gorgeous. They were absolutely gorgeous, and when projected, they were unlike any other slide film out there. Okay, as far as its resolution. So let's go over a few things about this camera. Okay, it is a rangefinder, right? It's not just a point and shoot, right? So you look through here. Let's start with this. Okay, let's get a little light on there. Here we go. That's not really too well. Okay, so you look through here. You look through this viewfinder, right? And this is where you're looking out of, is this window. But in the middle of this viewfinder is an image in yellow from this window, which, right, makes it like your eyes. That's how you get depth perception, right, by having two eyes, right? So you have an image that you're trying to focus on, comes through here, right, reflected on a little piece of glass in here, right, in yellow, right in the center. And as you focus, which is a hoot because the focusing is not done on the lens like you would expect. It's done on this knob up here. Okay, watch the lens, watch the whole body move as you focus it. Okay, as you turn this dial, this whole thing, right, look here. As you focus, that's how you focus. It goes in and out. And the rangefinder, right, like we discussed yesterday, this is your image that you want to photograph, right? This is the yellow image inside the viewfinder. And as you focus, right, you'll get the idea. That's in focus. That's not in focus. That's not in focus. That's in focus when you only see one image. Okay, so that's the focusing. This is the focusing knob. That's the viewfinder. It has 3 cold shoes. I don't think any other camera has 3 cold shoes on top of the camera. You'd be like, what do you need 3 cold shoes for? Well, one was probably, like the center one, was probably used for a big wire sports finder, right? A rapid finder, where it's a big wire like you would see on a machine gun, and then inside this wire would be a center hole, so you don't even have to hold this close to your body. You would just put this on infinity, It's on infinity now. You'd have this big, giant piece of, it's made professionally. It's not like a coat hanger. This big wire rapid finder, and you could just hold it up like this and look through the hole, and then boom, take your picture. Okay, instead of being up to your eye. The second one was probably for a flash, and this one was probably either for a light meter that could just slide right into it, like we discussed today. Sekonic still makes one that slides into a cold shoe, and it's always there permanently, until you take it off. Okay, it has these incredible, strong commercial neck strap hooks on either side, right? Now, here's what's wild about this. You'll never see this anywhere. So you take your picture. Let's see if it's cocked. Okay. You take your picture, and how do you advance the film? Remember, the name of the camera is Rapid. That's why. It's almost like loading a rifle. That's it. That's the advance. You advance the film here by pulling it out and putting it back. It advances the film and cocks the shutter. Now, one thing about these cameras, the tolerances are so small. All right. When I first got this camera, I was ready to send it back, because when you press the shutter, right, before I figured out how to fix it, you'd press the shutter in, nothing happened. I'm like, oh, come on. But then, as you put the camera in your camera bag and it's jostled around the next time, like that, it fired, but it fired like delayed. It was like a delay reaction. I'm like, oh, what are you, nuts? Then reading, it took me 2 days of research, reading blogs online about other photographers that have this camera and their experiences with that. And one gentleman, thank goodness, said, easy fix. The camera, because these are interchangeable, right? The brass parts that tell the camera that there's a lens there, the tolerance is like 1/100th of an inch. There's this little pin, and if the pin isn't exactly in that spot by 1/100th of an inch, it doesn't communicate. Remember, there's no battery. This is all mechanical, all manual. It doesn't communicate with the camera that it's ready. So you cock the camera, which advanced the film, and then you grab, this is the fix, you grab the whole lens for each frame, and you turn it, this is the shutter, right? Here. This is the shutter. You turn the lens away from it. You won't even feel, it'd be imperceptible, right? You just turn the whole thing away from the shutter, right? Then fix your f-stop and shutter speed, and then works perfectly. The pins in here are so delicate, but you have to understand, some of these were used by press photographers, some of them were used in the war, some of them were used, well after the war, but still in the military, handled roughly. So the brass pins wear down or get out of alignment, but it's still, you look at it, it still looks relatively brand new. Now, it's interchangeable. The lenses are interchangeable. How do you think about this? How would you take the lens off when the shutter, the leaf shutter, is built inside every single lens? So if you take this off, there's nothing stopping the light from exposing your film. Well, just like in a 4x5 or an 8x10 or 11x14 large format camera, it has a dark slide. And you have to put the dark slide into the camera between the lens and the film. Also very tight tolerances. Okay. It goes in there. And then you release the locking tab here, and the lens just pulls straight up. Now you see those pins, all those pins, right? Those are the ones I'm talking about that wear down over the years, over the decades, right? And there's a little play. Listen. That little play is enough for the shutter button not to communicate with the rest of the camera. You lock in the lens. You pull out the dark slide. The dark slide has a holder in the film cassette so you don't lose it. If you lose it, you're screwed. Okay? It just sits in here. I like that it has a big red tone to it so it doesn't blend in with the camera. Okay? So you take your photographs, right? Move your lens, right? You get 10 shots. 10. Right. 7, 8, 9, 10. And it won't go. Okay? That's telling you, hey, reload the film. Okay? So there's a button in the back. There's a button in the back. Push it up out of the way. And now remember, this is 120 film, so there's paper. So you have to push this up and advance it until the back shows 3 dots in red, 2 dots in red, 1 dot in red, and then it says load. Load it up with fresh film. Right here. Right? It'll say 10, and then you push this pin up, and then you advance it 3 or 4 strokes, and it goes, this shows 3 dots in red, 2 dots in red, 1 dot in red. Remember, rapid. Boom, boom, boom. Let's go. We're at war, or we're at a photo shoot. At a news, something's happening for the news, right? So now we have to get the film out of here. Push the button. It opens this flap. You can hold a piece of cardboard from your film box to show you what kind of film you got in there. You lift this tab, right? You go to O for open, and the whole back of the camera comes out. Okay? Now, this is what 2 1/4 inches by 2 3/4 inches looks like. This is the negative. Okay? This is what the Navy wanted when they ordered this camera be made by Omega. They wanted a bigger negative, so when you go to print it, it would be the exact dimensions of an 8x10 photograph. When you blow this up, it'll fill an 8x10 photograph piece of paper without any waste. Okay? This is what the film back looks like. Okay? You would take your roll of film, your fresh film, right? These open up by sliding back. These slide up and down. Each camera you ever own in film, you have to relearn everything, because no two companies like to do things the same way. All right? Then when you load your film here, right, you have to remember that the emulsion side has to be here, has to be facing out, right? So you have to roll it out. It goes across, right? You would load the fresh film here. It goes across to here. And then you can slowly pull this out. Let's see. You slowly pull this out while it rotates, and you get to a red dot. You line it up, right? Then you take the whole film back. Take the whole film back. This is the pressure plate. But this pressure plate, don't forget, is pressing down on the paper back, right? To press the emulsion side towards the lens. And this is where the pressure is. It's holding the film flat against these 4 pieces of steel. Okay? So you take the whole film back. A lot of photographers will buy 4 of these, right? Have them all preloaded. Because if you're at a wedding and you're only getting 10 shots out of this, it goes by real quick. So you would have an assistant constantly taking the film out of these, putting in fresh film, okay? And then you put the film back on the camera. Nice fit. Right, this one has number 1, and of course the other one has number 2. I only have 2. All right, you press it down, and you go from O for open to L for lock. Put it down, close the back door. Now you advance it, right? You got fresh film in here, and now it's green. The dots are green. 1 dot green, 2 dots green, 3 dots are green. Now you're advancing the paper so you can finally get to the film, and lo and behold, it says number 1. Remember, these old cameras, you have to adjust the lens by turning it that 100th of an inch, and you're good to go. All right. What else did I want to mention about this camera? It's pretty heavy, right? It's pretty heavy. It's not as heavy as the Kiev that we saw the other day, the Kiev 60. Now here, right, this is the way the camera came. It came built in with this giant hand grip, right? But here, it also had a built-in shutter release cable, right, that you can fire with your thumb, pow, like this. And it had a cable that went around and went into the hole here. But I don't like it because my hands are big, and it used to go over it, and it was sharp metal from the factory. It was pretty sharp. The fun fact, you guys out there that develop and print your own film, many of you have Omega enlargers. They still make them. Omega made some of the best industrial and home use enlargers out there, which is exactly why when you focus this camera, do it this way. When you focus this camera, it focuses exactly like an enlarger. This Omega, right, they had the technology on focusing systems, right, that worked. Now watch right here. Watch right here. Right, as you focus, it goes in and out. And this is exactly how with an enlarger, an Omega enlarger, right, it's up here, right, there'd be a light in here, and it would shine through the negative, and it would shine here onto a piece of photographic paper, and you focus, right, you look down, all right, you'd have a magnifier that focuses on the green. You focus just like this, right? So there's no surprise that Omega, who made enlargers, made their medium format camera, the Rapid Omega, work exactly like their enlargers. And this makes beautiful photographs. I didn't have time to pull out a photograph, but they're on my website. Just look for photographs taken with Rapid Omega. You'll see them. They're online. And it's better that you look at my photos from this camera or any camera online, because it's better than me holding it up in front of a webcam, which doesn't really do the photograph justice. Okay, so we went through medium format film, rangefinder camera. Right, I corrected myself on how to put the back on a Zorky 4 rangefinder 35mm camera. My dogs are pretty good. They only barked a little bit. Hey, we went 25 minutes. That's pretty good. I don't want to hold you guys up. So once again, thank you for tuning in. Here we are, volume 12. The volumes are going by once a day, pretty good, 12 days in a row. I enjoy it. In fact, I love it. I love talking about photography. I love talking about gear, new gear, different gear. Show you guys things you may not have even known were out there. Okay, the opportunities that there are to shoot different cameras. It's amazing. And these cameras, trust me, I didn't look today on eBay, but these are not that expensive. They're not. And they always come with a lens, more or less. Get it with a lens. If you're going to buy this camera or any camera, make sure you get it from a eBay seller that has 100% feedback, or at least at a minimum of 99.2. His feedback is known by me and now by you as his credibility score. Make sure he has more than 2 feedbacks. Hundreds or thousands is even better. That's who you should buy it from. Shop around. Remember, when you look at buy it now, all right, just because you found the cheapest one doesn't mean it's the best one. All right. There's a reason why cameras that work from sellers that have 100% positive feedback credibility, prices might be a little more, but the camera will work. All right, guys, have a great day. Have a great night. And if you can't sleep, watch this video. Maybe I'll put you to sleep. Have a great night.